Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Brett Bradley of Jestr. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm great. Happy holidays to you as we chat on this holiday weekend. I hope that you're safe, your loved ones and band friends and everybody, your collaborators are all okay, because it has been a not okay time in the world.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild, man. Thank you so much for that. And, I hope you guys are doing all right too. And y'all's holiday has been going as smooth as it can be. So.
as smooth as possible. I just talked to another band a little while ago who wrote a song, Happy Holidays, Now Leave Me Alone. And I was like, word, where's this song been all my life?
I heard that.
The Swaggerlies. Good job by them. So, yeah, like I said, I don't ever, obviously we're really excited. You have new music coming out in 2022. So we're ahead of the game on this chat. But like in general, it has been just such a tough time to be a person trying to make it in music, to have a young band, to try to sort of get your name out there. And just the field has been very crowded. So I think it's a smart move to wait a little bit. And I don't know how long this record has been done, and we can get into the genesis of the making of this album in a little bit. But at this point, there's still new records coming out in 2021, the next 3 weeks, which is like never happened before as a journalist and a person that used to be in bands. Typically by this time of the year, before before like Black Friday and Record Store Black Friday became a thing, it was done. You were done. If you put out a record at this point, it was a Christmas record or a box set, and you didn't expect anyone to really go buy a brand new record. So, tough times across the board in the industry.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's been wild lately, man. But I'm happy to see people out just putting stuff up. And I think with the holiday season and how everything's been the last, year and a half, 2 years now, I think people could use, a little something new around the holidays, being a lot of people can't get out and see family just with the way it is. And, anything that, we as artists can do to contribute and help with people is awesome. I love seeing it.
Indeed. Same. I'm thankful for new music. If I could be thankful for anything beside health and well-being, it's music to talk about, music to listen to and enjoy. The Dead and the Riches is your new album, and coming in 2022, I think early February. And it's so fun, and it's such a breath of fresh air. I often say that I think like the death of the songwriter happened a long time ago, but once in a while I hear something that kind of refreshes me and says, oh, actually people do care about songs still and write good songs, and don't try to make like 10, 11 straight songs that sound all the same because they're afraid of what people will say. So I really appreciate and applaud you guys. This is a really fun and deep record right off the bat.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, it was really fun recording that, and I'm glad to hear that as feedback. We put a lot of work into it, a lot of hard work into writing those songs, and just like you said, just making each one a little bit different than the last, and keep people kind of on their toes, I guess.
Right on. And for those that don't know, the band is out of Lafayette, Louisiana, not far from New Orleans, but could almost be a whole different world, if you will. Yeah. And I'm a little bit familiar with some of the bands from that area. And what Lafayette is known for is like a very diverse scene of different kinds of bands. And they all kind of meld together and play together. And I'm sure you played on some bizarre bills with different kinds of bands. We're like, what are they doing? Tell us a little bit about how the band formed and kind of like what the scene has been like for you guys with this kind of band.
Sure. Yeah. So the band kind of came, I was in a metal band for a long time. And once that kind of fell apart, I just took a little bit of time off. I was working. I was just doing the kind of normal day-to-day routine, and I just had this itch. So I called a buddy up of mine who, local producer, Dylan Frederick. He's really good. He's done a lot of just self-produced stuff. He's worked with a couple of bands, and I just sent him some demos, and I was like, hey man, how, you think we could maybe put a record together? And he was like, yeah, of course. And so I went in there and we recorded 12 songs, put them on the record. And then I just started sending them out to my buddies who were in other bands. And I was like, hey man, you guys want to get together and jam? And it just kind of was a very natural, the guys were like, yeah, I really like this, let's go figure it out. It's like, cool. And it just kind of happened like that. So it was, and a lot of it was through quarantine, just not having anything to do. I was working, going home, and I wasn't writing music for a while. Started writing these demos, and once I had 30 or 40 songs, I was just like, hey, you want to do this thing? I'd like to hear it as a, full product. And that's just kind of how it came to came to happen, you know?
Wild. And then, like I said, just sort of making inroads into that scene, or maybe you haven't had a chance to yet
Right.
because the project is so new, but like I'm sure it's gonna get wild. It's gonna
Oh
get
yeah.
weird.
Yeah, yeah. We played our first I guess our first official show here just last weekend or so, and we had a really nice turnout. People were really excited, and I think being kind of cooped up like we were and finally having the opportunity to come out um, you know, and see something, it was really nice. And then the music itself is kind of bombastic. It's a little fun. It's you know, so I think people were really excited to go out and just have a good time, and I'm hoping we can keep that momentum up. You know, we try to keep it light.
Right on. Yeah, right on. And it's definitely some thinking and feeling music. There's definitely some
Yeah.
moments that are very rocking. There's very some contemplative stuff in there as well that I definitely dig. And so yeah, I wanted to kind of like, so now that you're sort of finding your voice as a band, and you personally as a sort of a different kind of songwriter than recently, maybe not never, but recently,
Yeah.
what is that like for you to sort of just kind of like experiment and try new things out that ended up being on this record?
It's really fun. I mean, I grew up listening to a lot of classic rock, a lot of grunge, a lot of power pop. And then in my teen years, I got really into punk and heavy metal and all kinds of metal. So I got into a metal band. And then I guess through that quarantine and just kind of going back and listening to the old, you know, stuff I grew up on, it's just like, man, I was like, this is what I really like, you know, and kind of, I want to try it out, see if I can pull it off. And that's what we came out with. And it's been really fun. It's been really cool just to sit down. And it's like, okay, you don't have to be super noodly. Just write just like a jam and riff, you know, or something that's really catchy, you know, like AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, all that good stuff. It was always the hook, you know. So I was like, let's write some hooks, man.
Right
So
on.
it's been really fun. It's been really cool.
Nice, and I hear those hooks. I definitely got like a very speaking of hooks and catchiness, I got like a very Cheap Trick vibe on some of the
Yeah.
stuff that's not the punky stuff. And then I also heard a couple of songs where there's a little bit of layering, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if this was on purpose, but it super reminded me of that very first or second Tears for Fears album from the 80s, where there's this
Wow.
like
Yeah.
beautiful writing. Like these
Thank you.
guys were like trying to write the Beatles stuff with the 80s, like that's what they did.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
hear some of that in you guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I am a huge Beatles fan. In fact, I'm really like geeking to get back and watch the new Get Back series just came
Yes.
out. So
Yes.
I'm you know, I'm happy to be out with the family, but I'm really stoked to get back to the house and binge watch that. Huge Beatles fan.
I was super stoked to watch Hawkeye last night and watch the first two episodes because I'm a superhero nerd. But then I was like, oh, the Get Back thing is on now.
Yeah.
So like, I'm perfect to put that out for Thanksgiving. It's always Halloween to me, but Thanksgiving,
Right.
yeah, man. Like the late era Beatles for me is where it's at. I don't know about you. I really like. I appreciate the early stuff because you can't have the later stuff without the boy band early days. But like to me, as soon as they started doing the drugs and they started having personal problems, the music got so much better.
Yeah, man. Hey, Revolver on forward, dude. That's the best. That's the best.
Do you have a favorite Beatles record? Let me just sidestep and ask that now.
I know it's not technically a full album, but Magical Mystery Tour, front to back. I love it, man. That's my favorite.
It was fun movie. I highly recommend you. It's on YouTube. You could go watch it. I'm an Abbey Road person. I don't know why, but I'm like, that's my record. And it has always been my record more than any of the, obviously, look, they have a million great songs, but like, if I'm going to do Beatles, I always go back to Abbey Road.
Yeah, no, I hear you right there, man. Something is my favorite song ever written.
It's one of mine. George was a genius, and they definitely brought it. But yeah, man, Jestr, man, is such a fun and cool project and band, and I'm definitely excited to see people hear this thing and give you some more feedback. Ironically, like the first track is Sonoma, where I literally just moved from the area of Sonoma, California, closer to San Francisco. Now I'm in San Francisco, but so I don't know what inspired that track, but I just had to yell it out because I literally used to be in the area.
Yeah, man. Sonoma, I took a trip out to California, I think in 2018. And on the way, we went to Bodega Head, the Sonoma West Coast State Park, and it was just unreal how beautiful it was. And I always, I guess it's like when people say like, oh, I got to go to my happy place or whatever. Sonoma is far and away that place for me.
Right on. And it's a cool choice, I think, to start the record with this like little solo ditty, if you will. It's just
Right.
like a little short song, and it's just to the point, and it's just so. And I like that. That's like, most bands can't wait to rip your face off with the first song, which you could have chose another song. But
Sure.
I like that you chose that one. Sequencing is another lost art a little bit by bands.
Yeah, for sure. And it was very important for me to get that done properly, because there is a story to the record. And I wanted to make sure that I told that properly. If people pick up on it, that's awesome. If you don't, that's cool too. Hopefully it's just a jamming record, either way you look at it. But Sonoma was the starting point for that record for sure, kind of emotionally, and the vibe too.
Right on. And then of course, Ghost of You just rocks right off the next track. And there's a lot of bangers, man. Gold Beach. I personally like Birth of a Charlatan. I think that's the Tears for Fears song, because I wrote some notes and I was like, Tears for Fears like. So I think that's the one I mean when I reference that. If anybody's going to check this interview out and then hopefully check out the band, that's the goal here. And we'll link all your stuff and all your tracks and your where to find you in the description as always. But yeah, man, Hades, Spellbound is another fun one. Really good wordplay on the lyrics. So like you guys have a nice balance of different kinds of songs and different moods, and even the like lyrics are not it's like could have been a band for 20 years, could have been a band for 5 minutes. Like very good. Like hard to tell, like pinpoint exactly all the things by just listening to the songs.
Right on, man. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And we put a lot of hard work into those. Spellbound is really fun. Just a fun, quick little fact about that. When me and Dylan recorded that song, he was pulling up like old gospel songs and some Elvis stuff, and he was like, "We got to put a choir in there." He's like, "Can you sing this line for 8 hours?" I was like, "Okay, sure." So we ended up doing, I don't know how many, like 143 some odd vocal takes for the chorus. There's a choir behind, and that was a really cool experience. And then hearing it back for the first time, you're just like, wow, I did that. So that was very fun.
That's like a Bohemian Rhapsody level overdub.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And that was he's like, Freddie Mercury did it. I was like, all right, man.
Right on. Just generally speaking, if you want to just talk personally without speaking for the other members of the band, like what was the first music you heard that inspired you to just also want to make music, not just enjoy it?
Oh man. The first band, I got to give it to AC/DC. That was totally just as a kid being like 5 or 6, and my dad popped in AC/DC on the way to school. And I was just like, it just sounded fun. Being able to, rip a riff like that. And my dad plays guitar too, so he would play it. And I was like, that looks cool. I want to do that, So that was probably the very first band that really got me like, I want to play music for sure,
Nice. Did you have like a moment years later where you finally understood the lyrics and you were like, oh my.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we were, that's funny. Me and my parents, we were all driving somewhere, and my dad had AC/DC on like real low in the car. And You Shook Me All Night Long came on. I was like 8, and I was singing along, and my mom looks back and she was like, Brett, you can't say that. I was like, what? And I didn't know. I mean, I didn't even think about it, but I knew all the words. And then in an instant, I was like, oh, that song's about, whoops. Okay. So from then on, I was like lip syncing in the back. I was like, I know what this is.
Right on. That's like when you watch a movie with your parents and they don't realize there's going to be like an adult scene in it. And then you're like, oh, I shouldn't be seeing this. Oh, yeah. And they forget you're in the room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had one of those. And then I always go back to like with AC/DC, it's really fun about them is like the Bon era was like very coy and like very fun metaphors for sexual things. And then when they got to Brian, there's like no more metaphors. Just this is what it is. Not too much to the imagination. So I like that change that happens. That people don't, obviously the change of the singers, rest in peace, Bond, but like people don't understand. Like they definitely were like, you know what? No more metaphors. Just we're already out there. Let's be out there all the way. So I like that. I always like fall back to that. It's like the heartbeat is eternal. That beat, that 4/4 beat, man, is just in your heart.
That's it, man. It's the lost art of the riff,
Malcolm and Angus, man. Malcolm especially, just put it down. and he just put it down. A lot of bands could still learn a lot from him. I know people like, oh, they made the same record 20 times, but they made the same good record 20 times.
That's right. Yeah.
Boring. They might not have like the later. I love the last one. Actually, I thought Power Up was one of my favorite records of last year. I was surprised how much I loved it. I wasn't expecting to love it. And I was like, man, this whole record is good. Every song is good. I was waiting to poke holes in it as a critic, but I was like, nah, I really can't. It's awesome.
That's it. If it ain't broke,
don't break it.
That's right.
So, yeah, man, awesome. So you guys played your first show. Is it too soon to try to plan a tour, or is that something you guys are starting to work out?
Yeah, we're starting to work out some of the logistics for it. I definitely want to hit the road a little bit, as soon as we can after the record release. Just want to get the word out there, the name, and, do the best we can and make sure that people are having as good a time as we hope they might. But in the meantime, we do have a couple of shows coming up just in our hometown. We're playing at the Boom Boom Room in Lafayette, and then Blue Moon Saloon, man, for New Year's Eve. It'll be a good time.
Right on. I think I saw some video of you guys at that place. That's cool. Looks like a cool, fun place.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's laid back.
Very much. Nice. We like it. Of course, as we wind down to my last few questions, because we're at the end of the year, or it will have been the end of the year by the time this runs. What have you been listening to this year? It doesn't have to be brand new, but like, what do you listen to? What are you listening to the most? What have you enjoyed this year that stood out to you?
Sure. So, our drummer Austin is actually super into like hardcore, and I'm not super up to beat with the new, the new generation of hardcore, but he really got me listening to Knocked Loose. So I've been jamming that lately, ran through their whole discography. And then, of course, I've been on a Beatles kick for like the last year and a half constantly. And, and I just came across this new band the other day called I Fight Dragons. They're not a huge band necessarily, but man, they blew my mind. So if there's any band I can recommend, it's that one right there.
Nice work. Nice. We like it. And then what else beside music, and obviously you like work, do you do anything else? Anything fun, cool, interesting hobbies we might like to hear about? You might want to share?
Yeah, man, lately, and it's all because of the band, just doing stuff for the band, but I've been getting into a lot of digital art, into screen printing, just, stuff like that. And like outside of doing it for the band, I've been having a good time learning how to do that. And filmography too. Like I've been shooting bands here in town. Just kind of learning all the inner workings of that kind of stuff has been really fun. And it's been a cool little thing to do outside of music,
Right on. That's good. You got to keep yourself sharp and interested beyond, give yourself a respite and then come back.
Yeah.
You can't just do one thing obsessively all the time. That's what they call madness.
Yeah.
I know it all too well. Yeah, man, it's awesome catching up with you. And again, I really appreciate this record. And I really hope as many people possible listen to this thing and get out of it what I got out of it. The Dead and Riches is the album, comes out February 11th, 2022. Brett, man, thank you so much for hanging out with Ghost Cola. I really appreciate you. And certainly enjoy a safe and happy holiday season. And we'll see you next year. Maybe our next interview, we'll watch the Get Back thing and compare some notes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. And thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.